What is good, defenders, and welcome to episode 316 of the most LAFC podcast on earth. That's right, it's Defenders of the Bank, the morning after the League's Cup begins, and Xolos providing little resistance for LAFC. You know my voice, as COVID-riddled and as awful as I sound right now. It's the Scarf, J.R. Liebert, coming to you live from Lawndale and, of course, across the interwebs from world-famous Philomonster Studios, of which there is a beautifully designed T-shirt by Dexter. You got to check that out over at defendersofthebank.com. Click on our shop, and you, too, can own a world-famous Philomonster Studios T-shirt. One Christian Philly Philemon.
In 1968, there was a band called The Rascals that had a song that started with the lines, "It's a beautiful morning," and it absolutely is, especially coming off of a big win last night at BMO Stadium. Scarf, when you mentioned the morning after, that only conjures up so many images. We're your morning after, Bill, for after that absolute shellacking of Xolos in an underwhelming fashion. In a lot of ways, which is quite interesting. We'll talk more about that. But yeah, you were missed yesterday, my friend. But as somehow you always manage to do, you found your way to a scarf from the match.
That's right. Got me a scarf, the 50-50 with Xolos and LAFC. No one wants to be around me right now. I've got the COVIDs and I don't feel great. And it's been a rough go for the last couple of days. Got a little bit of a voice, so I'm making it through this pod, but very excited. Philly, excited to get better for next weekend, August 4th, the Mo Facio Kickball Tournament. Make sure you guys sign up if you still need a team. We might still need a couple of players.
Oh, wait.
So if anybody wants to play.
Did you respond to that message on Twitter, by the way? You need to.
Which one? I'll check it out.
Yes, we had a request from, let's see here, Richard. He wants to be on the team, so hit him up.
All right, Richard, I'm going to hit you up. Ben, I don't know what you're doing, but you should come over and be on our kickball team too. We miss you guys. We love you guys. Welcome back to Defenders of the Bank. But yes, August 4th, the Mo Facio Kickball Tournament. If you can get out there and support that wonderful cause, please do. Episode 316, Philly, Wichita, Kansas. You're the music guy, so Joe Walsh from Wichita, Kansas. That's, by the way, Wichita, Kansas, area code 316, which gives us that. Joe Walsh, how about both Wyatt Earp and Matt Masterson, Gale Sayers, the greatest running back of all time. Fight me on it if you want. Barry Sanders, former Met, Hot Rod Keneal, and of course, Philly, the fictional birthplace of one Ted Lasso. There you go. Got to bring it back around to soccer.
You forgot the most important 316 of all time, Scarf.
What's that?
Philly 316, baby. Look at these guns. I hope you paid for it. Admission to this gun show, baby. Yeah.
I was waiting for it. Absolutely right, you guys. This is Philly's 316 episode, and he's very, very, very excited. Y'all, look, we're going to make it. We're going to try and make it relatively short and sweet for y'all. You know how we like to start our episodes. It's time for This Day in LAFC History, followed by a quick news and notes segment. And then we'll get right into, as Philly correctly put it, and as I tweeted out yesterday, the underwhelming 3-0 victory over Xolos yesterday. I know watching it on television, I was underwhelmed. It's good to hear that in the stadium it was a little underwhelming too. But let's get right into it. And Philly, of course, the match occurring on the 26th of July. And that is a big day in LAFC history. It was one of the first real disappointments in El Tráfico. The second time we ever played against Carson, the first time at the bank, our first ever blackout LA game. But unfortunately, we could not hold a 2-0 lead after the 80th minute. Remember that first year, Philly? It was the 80th minute curse. Mikey, let me address that real quick in the chat. According to the broadcast last night, what they said about the injured player who was Christian Rivera, the captain for Xolos, is that he was conscious. He was moving all of his limbs and was spending the night in the hospital. Yeah. I have not seen anything more online or any other update from Xolos, but we did hear at the end of the broadcast last night that he was conscious and moving all of his limbs and was spending the night overnight for observation. So, Philly, I don't know what it looked like there in the stands, They did not show a replay at all on television, but it was very clear very quickly that was a rough situation for Christian Rivera.
Yeah, I mean, I was up in the press box, so my vantage point wasn't great, but I mean, yeah, it was just a freak accident. I mean, you had Eddie Segura and Christian going up for it, and it was a nasty knock. But immediately the training staff came out there.
Yeah.
Like we thought the thing that had conjured up in my memory, like my heart kind of palpitated, thinking like it was a Christian Eriksen situation where you had the training staff come as quickly there, and it didn't take very long for them to bring out the cart. We haven't seen that. We only saw that one time. That's when Maxime broke his leg in the MLS Cup final back in 2022 against the Union. No, it was a scary, scary moment. And obviously Osorio lost his mind after that. We'll talk about that during the game.
Yeah.
But I heard in the press conference, same thing you had just said, that he was in the hospital, conscious and in good spirits. So look, that's one of those things that no malicious attempt. It was a bad foul on Eddie Segura, but yeah, thankfully, you know, he was up and going afterwards. But yeah, a tough scenario for Xolos. That's their captain. He led their team in scoring last season and in tackles, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We haven't even gotten into the recap yet.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to address Mikey's question right up front in the chat so that we can, we'll talk about it a little bit later as well. But anyway, on July 26, 2018, LAFC up 2-0 going into the 82nd minute. But unfortunately, we gave up 2 goals after the 80th to squander a 2-0 lead. Goal scored by Carlos Vela and Lee Win, the 2-2 draw. And of course, Philly, that was the inauspicious debut of one Andre Horta and the game where Mark-Anthony Kaye broke his ankle. So a rough one indeed for our first year LAFC boys. But the next year, Philly, we did get 4 goals in 12 minutes on July 26, 2019, to defeat the defending champion Atlanta United at Bank of California Stadium. Listen to these 4 goal scorers: Adama Diomande, Diego Rossi, Carlos Vela, and Edward Atuesta, a who's who of goal scorers in the first half for LAFC. And of course, Eddie Segura getting on the board with an own goal for Atlanta as well. So we've seen a couple of own goals in Eddie's career. The cool part about Carlos Vela's goal in that match, Philly, is it tied him with Eric Cubo Torres for the most goals by a Mexican-born player in an MLS career. He obviously went on to set that mark quite a bit higher. But Philly, if you're listening today, God, my voice sounds terrible. If you're listening today, and you are, because that's when we're recording it, and many of you are live here right now, how about July 27th, 2017? Bob Bradley hired as the team's first ever coach and the first ever cap raise on Instagram. Bob was the first one to do it, and there is bobblehead Bob. Oh my goodness. What a day it was. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. What a day it was. July 27, 2017. We had ourselves a coach, Philly.
Yeah, man, that was a long time ago. A really, really long time ago. And Bob's been on a bit of a journey since then. Toronto FC didn't work out for him very well. Now he's back in Staubach on the Scandinavian Peninsula. So, good on Bob.
For now.
For now, yes.
You and I both think he's going down to San Diego to kickstart that dumpster fire. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I don't know how much of a dumpster fire it's going to be. I'm a little afraid of if Bob gets there and a certain other Mexican player that was played at LAFC, I would honestly be devastated to see him sign there.
I'm a little less worried about that right now. I'll tell you why in a minute. But Philly, speaking of dumpster fires, let's do a quick recap of LAFC's contributions in the All-Star game that we lost 4-1.
It wasn't a dumpster fire of a contribution. It was just a
no. The game itself was a dumpster fire for MLS. No, for us, you could have replaced Denny Bouanga and Hugo Lloris with traffic cones, Philly.
No, with me and you.
There you go. That's never a good thing if you could replace Hugo and Denny with Philly and I. Look, they each played about 21 minutes subbing on in the second half. I think Denis had 3 passes, Hugo had 1, and that was the extent of their stats. I think that's the same amount of touches they had. I don't even know. It was something. But you know what?
Care though? I don't. I mean, they didn't. They were in the game. They got a couple of minutes. They didn't get injured. All I care about.
Yeah, but Philly, there are those times, when we were voting for Carlos Vela for captain, when we were watching Jesus Murillo score in an All-Star game. There were just there were good things that could have happened, but no, very happy. Genuine Cougar says it right there in the chat. Just seemed like good resource management given the schedule. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, assuming he's talking about the All-Star game. Philly, we thought the money would be a little bit more for Mamadou Fall, but alas, he's off to Barcelona.
Yeah, the initial reports are like 2.2 million. This was some time ago. So 4 million for a player with his upside. But then keep in mind that we thought that he wasn't going to end up signing with Barca. So he ends up doing it. The thing that bothers me about Mamadou Fall, Scarf, he had all those awesome LAFC photos. He had the one of him wearing the sombrero. None of that is to be found anymore on his social media. I get it. He's a kid, but did LAFC really leave him that sour a taste in his mouth that he couldn't have at least left a couple of photos on his social media, or at the very least said, thank you for providing me an avenue so I can get to Barcelona? I don't know. That second stint that he had with us, in particular, his body language and his responses in the press conference after his first game back, really left a sour taste in my mouth. Good on him. He's at Barcelona, obviously the highest profile team that we've ever sold a player to. But yeah, it was just a little unceremonious how he decided to bounce and then kind of like wipe out any indication that he played on LAFC.
Yeah, look, it's clear to me that the immaturity that we saw plenty of towards the end of his run at LAFC is still present with Mamadou. But look, moreover, getting to play for, I mean, easily the world's most recognizable club outside of England for sure, if not the world's most recognizable club, period. Barcelona, Camp Nou, or what is it, Estadio Olímpic Luis Companys, until they finish all the restorations at Camp Nou. So congrats to Mamadou. Look, don't forget, he saw the pitch 42 times for LAFC, 6 goals for Air Senegal, as he was called, and 1 assist while giving LA a real, genuine threat in the air, which we have again with Kai Kamara, but it was definitely something that was sorely missed after Mamadou Fall left. So we wish him nothing but the best. The deal reported at $4 million. No mention of whether or not LAFC still retains a sell-on percentage for the next deal. Kind of hoping we do. But Philly, rumor mill, we don't normally report on rumor mills. But when Tom Bogert reports it, I think we're allowed to talk
about not a rumor.
Midfielder. I think we're allowed to talk about midfielder Lewis O'Brien at that point from Nottingham Forest, kind of, right?
Yeah. On a loan deal from Nottingham Forest, but yeah, a 25-year-old was with Middlesbrough and spent part of 2023 with DC United. I saw, believe it or not, so when I was going down to the press conference in Field Club, I saw a couple of Middlesbrough jerseys. Kits, I'm sorry. When the heck do you ever see Middlesbrough kits in BMO Stadium? The only thing that we've ever had close to Middlesbrough, I believe, was, hold on. I have the thought on this. Talk, and I'll tell you in a second.
Are you thinking about Sheffield Wednesday when we had Cal?
No. Hold on. You keep talking.
I'll keep talking. Look, Lewis O'Brien, 25-year-old midfielder. He's played matches in the Premier League.
The closest thing to Middlesbrough that we ever had in the stadium outside seeing the kids was the presence of Robbie Mustoe, who had played on Middlesbrough, but obviously a long, long time ago. Sorry, that's where I'm just like, what am I not remembering here?
I love it. Philly says, keep talking. Wait, I got it. I love it. This is why we love Philly. Look, Lewis O'Brien has played in the Prem, in the English Championship, in League One, and he's amassed 14 goals and 15 assists in 238 career matches. And Philly, you mentioned it, spent a little bit of time with DC United in 2023, so he is familiar with Major League Soccer. So it'll be interesting to see. Look, great depth piece, I think, if anything, for LAFC. We all know how badly we need a midfielder. Jack, from what I've read, it seems like he slots a little bit more in as a defensive midfielder, according to a couple of the sources I've seen. But if he can provide any offense, great. Again, like I said, 14 goals, 15 assists in 238 career matches. So it looks like the deal close to being done. Not a splashy signing, but plenty of those signings are exactly what we need. I mean, think about it. Maxime Chanot was not a splashy signing. He has been a little bit of everything for LAFC. Dare I say Timothy Tillman really wasn't a splashy signing when we signed him. And yet look at what we've gotten from a player like Timothy Tillman, clearly Edward Atuesta. And obviously, we're getting some great things out of Kike Oliveira right now as well. Some very, very talented signings over the past few years, but also Philly, more of a reason to trust in that front office. They are absolutely incredible in mining the talent from all over the world.
Yeah, 100%. And where we did need some more depth, obviously, was in the midfield. And man, we're sort of suffering for it right now without Timothy Tillman there. I mean, formations have been changed and shifted as a result of his absence. He was there at the stadium in good spirits, wearing one of those Pac Sun LAFC t-shirts. So that should be good. I'm not going to pray. I'm not going to pretend that I've ever seen Lewis play. But at the same time, look, Jack's in the UK. Jack knows. So appreciate you having boots on the ground and letting us know. It only helps. It's obviously not taking away. It's not going to hurt. The question is going forward. Some of those other rumors that are going out there on the mill, whether or not those are true. Look, the minute Carlos Vela came to LAFC, we always said Antoine Griezmann, because of the relationship they had at Sociedad, hanging out on the beaches of San Sebastian and just chilling out on that beautiful coastal city in Spain. The fact, though, that this is out there in the rumor mill again. And by the way, if you're on social media, on X, our good buddy Vince LaRosa had some really good commentary on what this possibly could be. It's something we've talked about for a number of years. It could be an agent leaking some kind of story into the press to bid up the value. It could be, them testing markets. It could be him possibly coming to LAFC. So there's a lot of things that it could be, but LAFC, if he does come here, the F is not going to stand for football. It's going to stand for the Los Angeles French Club if he ends up coming in here.
Yeah, and a quick note on Lewis O'Brien. He did play against the Galaxy last year, started and played all 90 minutes in a 3-0 win for DC United over Carson in DC. So you might want to go check that out if you want to see him play, get a little bit of an update on him. Philly Angel City finally, after 3 tries, beat Bay FC, heading up to PayPal Park to register the 2-0 win. An 18-minute own goal and a Claire Emsley goal in the 53rd minute were more than enough for the 3 points on the road. Their next match is over at Titan Stadium at Cal State Fullerton, Thursday, August 1st, against Alex Morgan, because she didn't make the Olympic team, and the San Diego Wave as part of the NWSL versus Liga MX Femenil Summer Cup. So make sure you get your tickets for Titan Stadium on August 1st. And LAFC 2 will take the field tomorrow at SaberCat Stadium in Houston against Houston Dynamo 2 at 5 p.m. All right. Philly, not bad. Under 20 minutes for all the opening stuff. That's pretty good for us, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, we should get into the game. By the way, just real quick, I know Ben's out there in the chat. Angel City on a bit of a winning streak. That's kind of cool. It doesn't affect their standings though in the NWSL. They beat Club America 3-2 earlier in the week. So that's earlier last week, I should say. Not bad. Not
bad. And real quick, I did want to touch on this because it's starting to come out on social media a little bit. Eddie Segura receiving a little bit of a racist tweet or two on after last. Yeah. He was sent the orangutan emoji by a guy and some other stuff that was said. So look, this is the ridiculous part, man. The problem with all of this is when anybody now fouls another player and they are of a person of color. I mean, we saw it with Moise Bombito when he fouled Lionel Messi and he got all these death threats and everything to his family and all that stuff, these terrible racist epithets. And now we're seeing it in Leagues Cup. Like Eddie Segura, he felt awful after that foul.
Yeah.
Clearly didn't mean to injure anybody. He was a little late on it for sure. But I mean, just awful that these guys are having to deal with some of this racist stuff online. Sports, I mean, we're seeing it in the Olympics right now, right? Sports should be a place where it brings everybody together. This is not obviously anything Eddie Segura or anybody deserves to be dealing with on social media.
I would love for this. Did this person did they hide behind an emoji or a blank profile? Because it's typically where it comes from. Soft mother effers doing stuff like this. It sickens me and it pisses me off. If you don't have the cojones to say something like that to somebody's face, hiding behind a keyboard, freaking coward, man. I would love to just hit that person in an alleyway.
If you believe the picture, it's actually a female who might have done it. And yeah, it's
Well, then
it's
I know
out there
plenty
on
of
Twitter.
females that would have no problems taking out somebody in an alleyway.
Yeah, it's out there on Twitter for everybody to see, using the orangutan emoji and calling him a looks like a racial epithet.
It was
And
a
they tagged.
journalist in the
I don't know. I don't know enough about this person yet.
a Twitter journalist.
Yeah, it does say that they are some sort of journalist for Xolos on ESPN. But look, I
Out of a job now, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, ridiculous. Either way, her name is Muncie. It appears on Twitter. There you go. Feel free. Have at that what you will.
Classless POS, you are, Monty. Classless POS. Go ahead and Google the acronym POS. I don't care. Disgusting behavior.
Oh, boy. All right. For any of the kids listening, that's Philly. All right. Philly, Xolos coming to BMO Stadium for the first time, playing LAFC for the first time. And look, we mentioned this during One More Sleep. Actually, it wasn't One More Sleep, right? It was our Getting to Know You episode, which we did okay on the players to watch in that one. One player for sure I think we should have mentioned and didn't was Kevin Vellante. He was incredible in the match, especially 1v1 against Anibuanga. But sometimes you get the Monterreys and the Tigreses and the Leones on winning streaks. And then sometimes you get the team that's finished like 13th and 16th in their last clausuras and aperturas. You get the Xoloses, and unfortunately, it was not a good showing for Xolos.
No, so they have a new coach, and that'll Juan Carlos Osorio, and he didn't take too much time to obviously gain some headlines within his short tenure. Taking over for Miguel Herrera Piojo, who got fired from last season with an abysmal performance. So coming into this game, I thought we had the advantage because we have a team right now that's well-seasoned, really good chemistry, in good form against a team that, is just starting out their season. 4 games, 2-1-1. Now they're tied for second in Liga MX with goals 4 at 7 with Toluca, just behind Cruz Azul and Pumas. But they also lead Liga MX's top 10 sides here in the Apertura, having allowed 7 goals. So here's a team that can score, but a team that lets in a lot of goals too. And as we saw yesterday, very poor job defensively. Had it not been for their keeper, Rodriguez, this would have been an absolute bloodbath. But yes, not a great Xolos side, but we didn't begin the League's Cup last season going up against a great Liga MX side. We played against FC Juarez, and we scored a touchdown on them with the extra point, 7-1. So we've had a very solid start in opening round matches in League's Cup, although last season we were out of the knockout rounds.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, though. I mean, this was a team that, look, they came to play. They had a ton of possession. Again, though, this reminded me a lot of the Galaxy game that we played earlier this year, where they had a ton of possession and just never looked dangerous and couldn't do anything with it. You mentioned Juan Carlos Osorio as the head man, 2-1-1 in the Apertura so far, 7 goals allowed, 7 goals scored. And a player not in the 18, and I just don't know what to make of this guy anymore, Philly, Emmanuel Reynoso. We talked about him a little bit on our Getting to Know You, strictly because he's a name that everybody who follows LAFC should know over the past few years. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where his head's at. I don't know if I'd rather play in Tijuana or I'd rather play in beautiful, what is it, Allianz Field, Allianz Stadium. Where is it that Minnesota plays? I think I'd rather play there. Yeah, one of the Allianzes. It's beautiful. It's brand new. I just think that I don't know what Emmanuel Reynoso wants in his career, but look, a team that plays a 4-2-3-1 that we have seen a whole lot recently. I think 5 out of the last 6 opponents have played in that 4-2-3-1, and you mentioned it. There were 2 players that absolutely stood out for me 100% of the time in this match. More than any other, though, would be their goalie, Jose Antonio Rodriguez, known as Tonio, and made 3, 4, 5 spectacular saves. Most of them on Denny Bawanga, one on Mateus Bogusz. But Tonio, look, if there's a player that stands out, if I'm a club in search of a keeper and I want to pluck someone who appears to really be on the rise, I mean, Tonio, absolutely incredible. He's been a staple in Liga MX for a while. On the back line for their 4-2-3-1, Rafael Fernandez, Kevin Vellante, who that was the guy who was bodying up and defending Denis Bouanga most of the night. Very impressed with his job as well. I mean, he was repeatedly left alone on Rivas Island for quite some time, and I really thought he did a wonderful job. Kevin Balanta, Jesus Gomez, and Nicolas Diaz round out the back line. Aaron Mejia, and for at least the first few minutes of the match, their captain, Christian Rivera. At the forward spot, a player we were very familiar with, and I mean, he just looked as middle to nothing special as he looked with the Galaxy. Efrain Alvarez, Kevin Castaneda, who brought his shooting boots, but that was about it, to BMO Stadium. Domingo Blanco and Carlos Charlie Gonzalez. In the 18, the players who would take the pitch were number 203, Jaime Alvarez, Jose Zuniga, Jesus Hernandez, Francisco Contreras, Fernando Madrigal, and of course, the Los Angeles native who would come in, unfortunately, for the injured Christian Rivera very early on, Joe Corona. Philly, I will never get used to a team wearing number 203. I just won't.
The only thing 203 means to me, if I put it on the back of my kid, is my body weight, and that's something I don't want to hang on to for a very long time. Yeah, it's always kind of humorous seeing stuff like that because, yeah, we don't see it very, very often. Genuine Cougar in the chat says, like a lot of you, I really miss Giorgio, but I think Hugo brings a healthy dose of common experience to the back line and the team in general. I asked Steve a question in the press conference yesterday about whose performance stood out, other than Kike and Denis, of course, and he mentioned the fact about Hugo being in there and being a calming presence. So, I mean, yes, we completely agree with you there. And bearing that in mind, let's go into the starting lineups for LAFC. LAFC starting out in a 3-4-3 with Murillo, who had one of his finest games of the season, Maxime Chinot, and Aaron Long, who also made a lot of great plays defensively for LAFC. Sergi Palencia, Elias Sanchez, Eddie Segura, and Omar Campos would slot up in front of them. And then in front of them, all the way up top, Kike Oliveira, Kai Kamara, and Denis Bouanga. The players that would come off of the bench for LAFC and get meaningful minutes: Edward Atuesta, Matty Bogush, Ryan Hollingshead, David Martinez, Eric Dueñas, and Nathan Ordaz. Other players obviously were on the roster, but these are the only ones that got the minutes.
Yeah, and Philly, look, the story of this game, the narrative, right, continued to be all the way throughout 90 minutes. Lots and lots of possession by Xolos. Lots and lots of passing by Xolos. And then, like a surgeon, LAFC would come along, take the ball for a minute, and find a way to score a goal. Or, by the way, right, create excellent chance after excellent chance. I mean, the quality of chances, Philly, that we created, the quality of opportunities over the course of these 90 minutes, our XG showed it at the end. We were at almost 5 XG, despite only winning 3-0. Philly, I think the story was when Xolos had the ball, they couldn't do anything with it. And the little time that we did have the ball, we did everything we needed to.
Yeah, and this is going to lead into, that statement right there. I'll tell you one thing that was a surprise for me. Obviously, the performance from LAFC, having done what they did, and I don't want to call it an underwhelming fashion because you said it. They created a lot of chances, and Rodriguez did see 10 shots on target. That's a pretty darn good effort, but it just seemed underwhelming due to the fact that we hardly had any possession. Nearly 80% possession for Xolos after the first 45 minutes. But the biggest surprise to me was you didn't see in the stands. You obviously were at home watching, but you didn't see that sea of red in the stands. I really thought Xolos would have traveled a little better with their supporters contingent. They were all situated right around section 212, 213 in that area. And, they did pop smoke a couple of times, but, the real red we saw was the bloodbath that was on the pitch. And yeah, like we said, 3-0 was a great result. It could have been far worse for the Peritos from Tijuana.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have. Oh, wow. Sorry, that's
You're getting a phone call.
No. There's there's Olympic swimming on in half an hour. I'm making sure I don't miss the.
Oh, got it. So we're going to need to move this along.
Yeah, we're doing a great job.
Did you think the Xolos kids, while they were really nice at first glance, they And didn't they kind of look like the MLS Pride kits with the font and that hint of white at split second? That's to me what it looked like. I thought it was a warm up top from because there's another kit they have coming out. MLS does, which has the similar font and style. Did that hit you at all?
No, what I was looking forward to, and I didn't see it because I knew we'd be wearing our black kits, right? I really wanted to see that bright red kit that Xolos has. Like, it's a cool kit. It's one of the kits that I like in Liga MX. I don't like a ton of the kits, I'll be perfectly honest, but I really do like Xolos' red kits that they use on occasion. I was hoping we would see that. I actually, I don't know. I didn't think much about their jerseys, if I'm being perfectly honest. A couple of opportunities, first 10 minutes of the match. Omar Campos absolutely shaking his man down the left-hand side. Tonio makes a great save. But again, a quick counter, which is what we saw from Xolos over and over again as Efrain Alvarez brings it all the way down. And Murillo, I mean, look, it could have been a very dangerous challenge there in the 6th minute. They could have got called for a penalty if he misses this time, or mistimes this challenge, I should say, but pokes it away from Efrain Alvarez. And then Denis Bouanga absolutely breaking his man on the touchline in the 8th minute. And, he was looking for a back heel from Kike. It goes out to Kai Kamara, lifted over the bar. But already you can kind of see, even though Xolos had maintained a lot of the possession, but the opportunities that we were creating were great, and it finally came to fruition in the 9th minute.
Yeah, 9th minute. Denny in the middle of a Xolos sandwich. Cuts through Mejia and Fernandez. LAFC was hungry for that first goal. Coming out, choosing violence. Actually, I'd hate to say that. Let me retract that, especially with that what comes next within the 3 minutes afterwards. But Denny had a clear look. May have very well gone in on its own. Maybe. But then there's Kike Oliveira there to slot it home. And as the 2018 song by Lecrae goes, they were coming in hot. I don't have any sound effect to go with the woo, but they were really coming in hot, man. Like, I don't recall seeing a time LAFC came out that aggressive in a while. Usually they're trying to get a feel for their opponents, but they were attack-minded from the get-go. They didn't see the red on the Xolos kits, but they definitely saw red on the pitches. They were hungry going in for the kill.
Well, and I want to say how surprising it is too, Philly, because the lineup that you mentioned featured 6 players who have primarily appeared as defenders. I say that because of where Eddie Segura was placed. 6 players who have primarily appeared as defenders. And then everybody knows Ilie Sanchez is a central defensive midfielder. He is as CDM as it gets in this league, dropping back almost every single time. So initially, Philly, when I looked at the roster, I thought, wow, we are just going to counter and wait and counter and wait and counter and wait. And I don't know that we did in the first half. I think we did. You're absolutely right. We came out on the front foot. We were a little bit more aggressive. It was a surprising lineup for the offensive output that we have. I'll say that. And I do want to mention, please make sure, if you're watching this goal back from Kike Oliveira, yes, he probably poached one from Denis Bouanga, but you know what? You have to poke it in that situation. Not his fault. But
sorry.
Go back and look at the play Eddie Segura makes, playing in that central midfield role as he steps up and makes the takeaway that gets that ball to Denis Bouanga. This play does not happen without Eddie Segura stepping up and being confident in a central midfielder role, which I thought was really interesting for Steve Cherundolo to be using Eddie Segura in the way that he did as like almost a double 6 with Ilie Sanchez. It was great to see Eddie Segura play so confidently. He makes that pass in a game where I thought, man, we really need to put these opportunities away. We've already had 2 good ones. We're able to make one out of nothing because of Eddie Segura. And obviously Kike doing the rest of the work on the right-hand side as Denis rounding his man, drawing the keeper in. Great goal there. Unfortunately, the game would go a little sideways for Eddie Segura, Philly, in the 12th minute. It was an aerial that, I'll say this, I went back and watched they didn't replay it, but on Apple TV, I went back and watched it after the match. Christian Rivera did not land right at all. It was bad. He didn't move upon landing. He was very stiff and rigid. Clearly something happened neurologically. I am not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV, but I can tell you that everybody around it was bad. Jesus Murillo at one point dropped to a knee and started praying. Kai Kamara was seen visibly upset. Eddie Segura was seen visibly upset. And Charlie Gonzalez, the attacker for Xolos, he was seen pretty upset. It was definitely kind of a heart-wrenching situation because you're absolutely right. You talked about it. We talked about it, where they brought the stretcher out immediately. They brought the golf cart over immediately. And I think the only person who was upset, but in a far more different way than all of it, unfortunately, was Osorio on the bench for Xolos.
Yeah, and Genuine Cougar in the chat has a couple of points that I agree with. Yeah, he was absolutely in the face of the female assistant referee, and then he had his head on the other official's forehead. I get it. Awful scenario. Nobody wanted to see that happen. And by the way, big shout out to the medical staff for getting out on the pitch really quickly. You don't see that unless something serious happens. And again, just that Christian Eriksen thing. Great. Good on them for getting out there and being that effective. But it was early in the game. And yeah, while LAFC was cooking Xolos' defense, I don't see how Juan Carlos Osorio could have really lost his cool at that point. Yeah, he was probably looking for a red out of Eddie Segura. But now he loses his captain in that of Christian Rivera. He physically tries to intimidate the assistant referee. He lands his forehead, which, come on, you know better than that. That's a no-no. My man, you're 63 years old. I'm sorry to say your fighting days are behind you. That referee, granted, he might have been shorter than you, would have pulverized you. More stamina, the guys running up and down the pitch. A very foolish move. They lose their coach and their captain all at the same go. And there's a perfect example of the phrase, cooler heads prevail. I get it. We're all passionate, and this was in the heat of the moment. But what was achieved? What was achieved? You cost your team. And who knows what else in terms of your tenure, maybe a couple of matches being suspended, not being able to be at the helm of a team. Not afraid to say it. That was beyond stupid by Juan Carlos Osorio.
Yeah, I mean, look, the only thing I can think of is that's their captain. That's their longest tenured member, right? I know Joe Corona's obviously been there a couple of times, but I think we said that their captain's been there since, 2019, Christian Rivera. But I'll say this. What are the rules after that? Because on the broadcast, because I was home, I'm sick, on the broadcast, they showed Juan Carlos Osorio up in Sunset Club in those seats with a guy next to him with a walkie-talkie communicating to the guy down on the pitch who had taken over. And I apologize for not knowing that guy's name, but I didn't look it up. So he gets the red card. He has to be escorted off. And yet he's sitting there in Sunset Club with a better tactical view than if you're on the pitch, right? You're higher up. You're near where John Thorrington's roost is, where he likes to watch the match. I just don't understand what the rules are for a red card. I get it. You have to leave the sideline, but why are you still? He was clearly still coaching Xolos. He was shown several times, and the guy with the walkie-talkie was right next to him, relaying information. I don't know.
There you have it. You might have an explanation there, but
Mikey says
but this is League Cup. These are completely different rules. Every federation has rules, but
apparently there are no rules. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I get that it's a Liga MX thing to use the walkie-talkies. This isn't a Liga MX match, right?
This is a League Cup match, a completely different sanctioning body.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I'm curious to know. He's obviously going to get suspended for quite some time for not just berating the female official, but then the fourth official who came over to defend her. He literally pressed his forehead into the fourth official. Kudos on the fourth official for remaining calm, by the way.
Oh, my God, yeah.
That was pretty good. And then I forget our head official's name, Philly. Do you want – I can look it up at the end. But we've seen that guy over and over and over again. He was very calm and very direct, saying, no, this guy has got to go. And then they went to restart play after Joe Corona gets substituted on for Christian Rivera. And Osorio refusing to leave. The referee just looks over and goes, okay, we'll wait for you. Are you ready to go? It's up to you. Go ahead. But he took another couple of tries at staying. I couldn't imagine what he's saying to the referee to try to be able to stay. Once the red card is issued, night, that's the end of it for you. But, just a little bit of a frustrating moment. And the whole time I'm watching it, by the way, all I'm thinking is, they're talking about all this extra stoppage time that we're going to expect in this League's Cup. We are going to get a ton of it after this whole fiasco, and we certainly did. Moving on from that, though, Philly, the next real great play, in my opinion, is Tonyo again with another massive save, this time on Denis Bouanga. Denis did a great job to drag the ball into the middle after a great pass from Ilie. He got a little under it, but another great save. I just felt like Denis' first touch betrayed him several times in this match.
I mean, sure, but he still had an effective game. I mean,
he was great. 10 minutes, he was great, but that's what we talked about, right? That it was disappointing either way.
Well, sometimes you see that you could kind of witness it, especially, from high up in the stands. Like, you can see that, he's one step ahead in his mind before he gets that pass at times, which is what creates the step. I mean, I think he said it in the past before. In his mind, he was celebrating the goal celebration before scoring the goal. So we know he plays chess in these kinds of situations. So, we have seen that a couple of times. The guy's hungry, but more often than not, those first touches are successful, and he always has a really good opportunity. What I do want to credit Xolos with, though, is after their captain went down, for the 20 minutes beyond that, they really held a lot of possession. They were in control of a lot of the match, to the point where, like, LAFC's playing on their back heels. Again, as per FOTMOB, because that's what I utilize for the stats in this case, 72% possession within the first half. And they closed out the first half with 15 shots and 3 of them on target. That's what a lot of teams get over the course of 90 minutes. They managed to do that within 45 minutes, but they were not effective, nor were they threatening on any of those attempts.
Yeah, I mean, they showed a stat, Philly, in the 40th minute, where, according to the broadcast, possession was 81-19, and LAFC had completed 27 passes through 40 minutes. 27 passes through 40 minutes, 81-19. But again, nothing that they could do. Yes, they had 3 shots on target in the first half, but all 3 of those were right at Hugo. Hugo did not have to move. Absolutely. And unfortunately for Xolos, in the 44th minute, completely against the run of play, we looked like crap for like 30 minutes. We scored the goal and just said, all right, Xolos, take the ball, have fun, play on grass. You don't get to experience this over at your stadium at Estadio Caliente. There's hot springs underneath. We know you have artificial turf. Go have a little kickabout for about a half hour. And then Kike Oliveira decided, all right, I'm taking the ball. A beautiful takeaway, 1v1, races forward. And, I mean, can we talk? I thought his first touch before the cross, I thought he was going to angle it towards the goal a little bit more. He kind of angles it outside. I was like, oh, no, bad first touch by Kike. How about a dime from Kike Oliveira right to the outstretched foot of one Denis Bouanga, who, I guess if you don't give him time to think about it, you just put it right on his foot for this match. No problem for Denis. He buries it. Philly, there's no more definition of against the run of play than that goal was.
That goal was credited to larceny. That's right. It was larceny, because Kike Oliveira absolutely robs Jesus Gomez of that. He rolls up to him like, give me that pelota. And then, you said it, that brilliant cross in the box. It just takes that bounce in front of Rodriguez. And sometimes the mind is a terrible thing to overuse. Then he reacted, and he reacted very well. He returns the favor. And at this point, between those two guys, anytime that they've had opportunities within the box, they absolutely carved Xolos' defense like a pumpkin in October. But what should have been the nail in the coffin, Scarf, what should have been the nail in the coffin moments after that, Ilie from the midfield connects with Kike. And there's Jesus Gomez again, who gets punked time and time again in the first half. And it happens yet again. Oliveira just missed. He did all of the hard work. And he just missed hitting the outside of the left post. He looked good, but he should have had that, and he knew he should have had that. Watched it on the replay, and he smiled, putting his hands in his head like this, knowing that should have been it.
No, you're absolutely right. That should have been night-night, that's for sure. Look, Kike Oliveira has been electric since he has come back from the Euros. Absolutely fantastic. Couldn't be happier for him. 10 minutes of stoppage time, but really, I mean, another Tonyo save in the 9th minute. Kike Oliveira right at him. A yellow card from Aaron Long. By the way, Omar Campos picking up a yellow. Aaron Long picking up a yellow. maybe a little bit of a concern playing with 6 defenders and now a couple more of them on yellows. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Oh, she got you the red and yellow card, huh?
We go.
They were only giving out to the first 2,000 fans, so that's pretty cool that you got that. I had actually one for you, but now that I see that you've gotten one along with a scarf, I didn't really need to do a damn thing.
We go into the half up 2-0. Possession, according to what I saw, 75-25 with a 2.89 xG for LAFC. So looks like scarves. Green tea, not Jack. Did I say Euro? Did I say Euros? Did I mean? Oh, I meant Copa America. Sorry, he wasn't at Euros. Hiram, thank you for keeping me. Hiram, I have COVID. I feel terrible right now. I'm wearing a scarf, but I'm sweating. I'm sweating profusely. This is, anyways, Philly, at half, we sub on Matty Bogusz and Edward Atuesta. So I guess we're still going to keep attacking up 2-0.
Yeah, it didn't take too long either. 5 minutes or so in, LAFC not wasting any time to try to close this out. A brilliant pass by your favorite player this season, Edward Atuesta, into Denny. And Denny manages to keep it onside. A beautiful balancing act that it was, and it would continue as Nicolas Diaz of Xolos tried to get Denny off the ball, but he still manages to stay on his feet. That precarious balance act, needles it through, gets it past Rodriguez, but it hits the post. Again, we hit the woodwork a few times. But Kike is there once again with Gomez in his back pocket once again. And he scores his second of the game, 3-0 LAFC. It really should have been 4 at that point. But Kike Oliveira, Denny Bouanga, there was no answer that Xolos had for either of these two. Going back to what I said previously, carving them up like a pumpkin in October or like a brisket on a 4th of July barbecue.
You know what's hard to do in a video game? I'm not very good at FIFA or ESPN FC or whatever the new thing is. I don't know. EAFC, I think it is. I don't even know. I'm not good. But you know what's really hard for me to do? If I only play 4 matches, it's really hard for me to get 7 goals and 5 assists in 4 matches. Denis Bouanga in 4 Leagues Cup matches in real life has 7 goals and 5 assists, 12 goal contributions in 4 matches. There are stats that need to be explained, and then there are those stats. I'm just going to shut up and say he might be the best player in Leagues Cup. That might be it.
He's going to go down at this point as my favorite player in LAFC history, and not because in LAFC history, and I'll tell you why. Because he plays with heart and he plays with passion. Similarly to why we all love Chicho, similarly to why we all love Latif, they played with heart. But Denny earned my respect well before this happened. But going back to a year ago when he comes off of a flight from having international duty with Gabon, jet lagged right from LAX straight into the match, and he contributes. I love him. He's going to get a statue, but we would not have seen that out of El Rey, man. Carlos Vela would not have done that. As much as I love seeing Carlos Vela in that 2019 season and everything he's done for us, and I don't mean to poo-poo him because I love Carlos Vela. I love him as a human being, too. The guy's funny. Let's just put it that way. He's a great person to chat with, hilarious. But he doesn't, and nobody at this point, I can say, plays with as much tenacity, ferocity, heart, passion, drive, hunger like Denny Bouanga. I love Denny, and I'm going down and saying it. I love Denny.
Yeah, he had a rough couple of minutes after this, though, Philly. Look, we all love Denny Bouanga. Tonyo again, and all I could think of is, for all of you LA Kings fans out there, Bob Miller back in the day with Kelly Rudy in goal, and then Jonathan Quick, kick, save, and a beauty. Beautiful save from Tonyo on Denny Bouanga. He chopped his defender into the middle, let one go, but a great kick save. And then even later on in the 61st minute, Philly, Denis just offside. Another frustrating run for Denis Bouanga. He hammered the ball, roofed it. Beautiful goal. Don't think he could have put it. It seemed like he was exercising all those frustrations that we saw that he was probably having, even though he had a goal and 2 assists, right? But he was called offside. No goal there. And the consolation prize for being offside is getting subbed out by David Martinez. Interesting, Mikey. I hear you. He's
I
got a
don't hate that
long.
comment. Obviously, there's something to be said about Carlos being the first. Carlos was the first. He took a gamble, which helped put all of this on the map. But
100%. You're also talking about a 2-time All-Star captain, the guy who led us to the MLS Cup final. I know there were always issues with health and with contributions. All-time leading scorer. He's got a long way to go, Mikey. But you and Philly, you guys can start baking that cake for Denis now if you'd like. And Philly, I couldn't forget to mention my favorite player. I was waiting for it, and it took 69 minutes for Edward Atuesta's dumb yellow card that we've been missing for the last few weeks. He's played so much better, but no reason for the dumb yellow there in the 69th, but it doesn't matter. And then Philly, honestly, not a whole lot much more to talk about, but go back, and in the Philly minute, I was very excited. We had some Philly minute fun. That's the 80th minute. Finally, the matchup I wanted to see. There's King Kong versus Godzilla. There's the Mets and Yankees. There's Ali Frazier. And finally, I got Jesus Murillo barreling down the pitch like he's a striker. Kevin Bolanta waiting for him, and these two giants collide. Bolanta wins with Murillo trying to make a run through the middle of the park. But I wanted to see that Bolanta-Murillo matchup. Those guys are the two most physical players out there on the pitch. I absolutely loved Bolanta in this match, but absolutely love Murillo being as aggressive as he was. And in the scarf minute, we get to see Nate the Great for Kike Olivet.
Hang on, I'm typing in Instagram. I'm trying to multitask.
Oh, okay. He's multitasking. All right. Well, look, David Martinez comes on in the 89th minute, does a great job to take the ball to the touchline, gets over to Matty Bogusz, but both his shots are blocked inside the 6. And then, honestly, Tonio, another save. I mean, absolutely unbelievable on Matty Bogusz in stoppage time, Philly. A diving save. It really could have been 5, 6, 7-0 in this match, but he keeps it to 3-0. And a dominating, if not underwhelming, effort offensively. But the defense was there. And Philly, I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, 74-26 on possession is what MLS soccer had.
No, they have it here at 66-34.
That's weird because I was watching Apple TV and they said 74-26. And then a 4.79 XG. I had to put that on the screen. LAFC punk, Jason Ariano.
There's a place on Ocean Avenue.
The quote of the episode, I think Edward Atuesta's favorite band is Yellow Card.
Getting yellow cards all night.
Point for Punk on that one. You guys, look, this Philly, ultimately though, right, it was a celebration the entire match. We never felt like we were threatened. Xolos did very little. I was able to I went to bed right after the match. I feel great. I feel having COVID again sucks. This is no fun.
Yeah, no, I wish you a speedy recovery, my friend. I will say, as much as I poked fun at the fact that, yeah, you look like crap, you really don't look like crap, and you sound okay. I couldn't tell from my vantage point whether you were sick or not, and maybe you could have been drinking Jack in that green tea. So, obviously, I hope to see you on Tuesday. That'd be pretty cool, but it all depends. What I will say, and we said it in an ironic fashion, an underwhelming 3-0 victory because with the XGs, with the opportunities they had, again, 10 shots on target. If it wasn't for Rodriguez, who knows what would have been the case. Interesting. I mean, to me, I still think the coolest stat of all is the fact that what other club in the world sports 2 keepers, a starter and a backup, that have gold medals in the Olympics? Rodriguez and their backup keeper, Jesus Corona, had played in 2012, won in London, along with friends of my other pods, Marco Fabian and Miguel Ponce. They won beating Brazil. That's a pretty cool stat. And that kid was good. You said, he's on the rise. He's 32. I don't know how much more on the rise Rodriguez would be, but he had a phenomenal game. But other than poor Christian Rivera, the only other player that I would say was going to go home with a huge headache and perhaps concussion protocol was Gomez, with the amount of destruction that Kike Oliveira and Denis Bouanga placed upon him on every opportunity that LAFC had. Definitely within the first half, you could see Gomez behind the run of play constantly. Like, that kid had an awful game. But believe it or not, I think he led the team in terms of accurate passes, which at the end of the day means not a damn thing considering his team got clean sheet goose egg. But he had an awful, awful game. And he deserves to take Rodriguez out for a drink because you know what? He bailed his ass on so many occasions because it could have been far worse than 3-0.
Yeah, Antonio, clearly the player of the match. So much fun to watch. LAFC continues their Leagues Cup run at BMO on Tuesday, 7:30 against Vancouver. And then just prepare to see a lot more of Vancouver after that because we're gonna. But looks like with this win, we'll likely advance. And remember, we play either the winner or the second place team between Monterrey, Pumas, and Austin FC. And Austin FC beating Pumas
3-2. Impressive win.
That was a good match. Yeah, good win for them. So, Philly, you mentioned Olympic gold medal in 2012 for L3 and for their two keepers. Olympic swimming is on in just like 5 minutes. And you know me, I got to get my Olympic swimming on. I got to watch Katie Ledecky in the 400-meter final, Americans in the 400-meter final. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm very excited. If y'all aren't watching the Olympics, watch the Olympics. U.S. soccer got crushed by France.
You know what I love about Ledecky?
Yeah.
Her family ties. Do you know who she's related to?
Family Ties. That was a good show. Alan Thicke.
Really? You know who her uncle is?
No.
John Ledecky. And he's the co-owner of the New York Islanders.
Oh, is that true? I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Jason, I agree. I'm sick and tired of Vancouver as well. And while this may cause many of us to yawn, we all do need to be careful and not undermine or not take Vancouver seriously. Yeah, they're not the sexy Leagues Cup matchup we all want, but this is where you could get smacked real quick if you're not careful. So I hope LAFC doesn't look at Vancouver the same way all of us are. Yawn. It can't be that way. Obviously, like you don't want to.
I'm with you, Jason. I'm actually just sick and tired as well. I'm going to go take a nap, Philly.
Yeah, go take it. No, you're going to go watch swimming, and I got to go drive down to the Orange County because we have to go to a party, and I'm missing the Athletes in the Making Black Tie Affair and the Arsenal game at SoFi. And you can tell from my voice, I'm not upset about what I'm about to do, which is why I'm trying to prolong this pod so I don't have to leave. But on that note, I should probably leave. Otherwise, I'm sleeping on the couch.
Enjoy.
And on that note, bye-bye.